in this episode of the Wardrobe Within podcast.
I wanted it as much as you want to live. And the desire was so great. And the belief, where the belief comes from, I have no idea. I just knew I was going to do it. And I did not have a plan B.
Welcome, everyone, to the Wardrobe Within podcast, the first episode. The Wardrobe Within podcast is a show for those who are looking for a more soulful experience in personal style. I am so excited today to introduce my guest, Susan Slavin. She is an incredible actress, an author, a teacher, and she has an incredible journey to share with us from the slums of Chicago to the famed Carnegie Hall. The beautiful story of Susan is one that is a story of authenticity and storytelling through being in connection with yourself. So, Susan, thank you so much for joining us, and I'm so excited to have you here. We would love for you to tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, my God. Well, first of all, Jess, we've only met once before, and I felt it was a deep connection, and I love you. So that's
I
where we're
love you too,
starting. I
Susan.
really do. I love you. And I feel like something that I have wanted in my life and in my career, I started very, very young, is to find a way to incorporate love, art, and success. And so to me, this is wonderful because there's love here. I just love you. And of course, I love what David and I are doing. I love the opportunity to bring to the world what real beauty is about and how essential it is that we value ourselves, because there's only one of each of us. And no matter what our backgrounds are, our story is needed. Our soul is needed. I feel we're all light bearers. Every single one of us have magic. And my own purpose in this life got clearer, of course, as I'm evolving and gets clearer every day. But it has been about uplifting people. And as an artist, that was always, for me, that's why I started writing. I wanted it to give people a leg up. And so this is an opportunity for me to talk. I love it. I love, like David, we like to talk. So I'm very happy to be here. But I'm really happy because it's you. Just because
Thank you, Susan. I love that
really
so
think you're
much.
special.
I appreciate you so much. And what you said truly, and I think that's part of the reason why, like you said, we've only met once, but I felt such a connection to you because I feel very much the same, right? That every person on this planet has magic and beauty to share, and we are all light bearers. And if the only thing that we do on this planet is imbue love and kindness into every space that we inhabit and into the lives of every person we interact with, that's enough.
Yeah,
That's
really
enough.
is.
And after meeting you and meeting David as well, and for those that don't know, Susan is the beautiful, incredible wife of David Kibbe, who I previously interviewed. After meeting you both, I felt so reignited in my passion to be that light bearer and help people tell their stories and help people love themselves more. So I appreciate that that's what you bring into the world because it's such a beautiful thing and there's not enough of it. And so you shared with me when we interviewed you the first time the story of your life and how you got to where you are now because it's so pivotal in the person that you've become. So I would love for you to share that story with the world.
That's such an opportunity because I didn't know what you were going to ask me today. And I thought, well, let me talk. I'm thinking about this all morning as I'm getting ready about my style journey, because my style journey is my life journey. And it was integral to my existence on this planet was my style, which will tell the whole story. But I thought if I start a little bit with this, why style was important to me. Well, first of all, let me just say a couple of things. I come from extremes. I come from extreme poverty. I come from a family that was saddled with severe mental illness. And that combination, one or the other, is not a happy place to be. But both together, it felt impossible for me. And yet it wasn't, because out of crisis or negativity, there's always opportunity. And so I had to find in myself the skills, the determination to not let this defeat me. And I was just very focused very early on. Thank God. And that's what I always say, well, they didn't give her anything else, nothing that most people get: money, love, support, a path, but they gave her talent. So out of that, I had to develop what a path that wasn't there. It was a very turbulent life. But out of that, I found my way. And so I came into this world with a lot of lack, deprivation. In fact, my older brother, there are two generations. A sister who's severely mentally ill, one now her conservator, which is a miracle that she's alive, truly. She's paranoid schizophrenic, and wasn't diagnosed until the last several years, well, more than several. But in the early days, we didn't know what was going on with her. She was violent. It controlled our life. I have two older brothers. One was old enough to be my father. The other was almost old enough. And so there were two separate generations. My parents were old. They started when my mother was 17 and my father was 23. But she was a 17-year-old. So anything I say about her, I have to remember that she didn't have a chance. It just breaks my heart. And I wanted to make it better. So it's no secret why I'm in the industry I'm in, why I want to help people. I want to make it better. And I felt like I failed with them, but David keeps telling me I didn't, because I did manage to save my sister's life. She was homeless on the streets of LA. It's a long story how it got to this point. It was dire. It was dire. And anyway, so it's very dramatic. But a lot of my passion, which I was born with, just born on fire, comes from the fact that everything I saw around me was wrong, and I knew it. And my passion was, I'm going to make it right. So I always had this feeling like I could, but it was hard work just to survive and to do anything I could to try to lift them a little. My mother was also somebody who didn't fulfill her dreams, and she was very talented. And by the time I came into the scene, she was very depressed. She had a spark. She really did. But she just descended or ascended into not madness overtly, but delusion. She lived in a fantasy world. She never got into the real world. And my father, the only thing I could say about my father was he was Willie Loman. And when I used to see the posters of Death of a Salesman, Willie Loman, that was my father. He was a traveling salesman, and it got worse and worse and worse. I didn't know this talk was going to go so much to my family, but that's me. I'm very formed by the pain in that family. And what else could I be but an actress? I mean, really. So the things that were very hard for me in life were assets in show business. That was easy. It was just surviving that was hard. Okay, so now a little bit more about me. That's just to give you a landscape. It is in the slums of Chicago that this happened. I lived all my life in a transient hotel, so it wasn't like an apartment or a house. I mean, people that had houses to me were like zillionaires, or people that said, "Oh, I'm in my house." How does one have a house? We would have just given anything for a real apartment. But so we lived in this transient hotel that was filled with weirdos like us. But my older brother had been really supporting the family since he was 9. He was very gifted, very talented. And I didn't really get to know him until the last maybe 10 years and 5 years before he died. But he hated me. Okay. So he was very cruel to me. And now I can understand because he had the burden of the family on him. So now he's saddled with 2 more kids, my sister and I, as well as his mother and father. And he really was always trying to take care of them. But he got very angry and very bitter. But he was quite amazing. At the time he was 14, he was headlining at the Chicago Theater as an MC. So he was quite unusual. So I do have that in my background, that I come from gifted people, but who are just struggling to eat. So there was nothing left over in terms of nurture. There just wasn't. It's all survival. So I wasn't going to take it lying down. I mean, I was not somebody who said, this is the life, and well, what are you going to do? Yeah, no. I didn't accept it from day one. And I wanted things, and I wanted to get to the world. My mother somehow found the impetus, and we had no money. When I'm saying we had no money for food, we had no money, like enough to barely eat. Somehow she got some relative or something money for us to go to Hollywood, because she had written this song about a movie star. And the movie star wrote her back. And he said, well, if ever you're in Hollywood, look me up. So she decides to separate and bring my sister and I, leave my father and my middle brother and my whole family, and we take the train to Hollywood. We were supposed to go for 2 weeks, and we stayed 5 months. There was a huge Hollywood mansion on Wilshire Boulevard, like Norma Desmond's mansion or something, and we lived on top of the garage in the back. But he and his wife, and she was pregnant, about to give birth, and here they're saddled with my mother and 2 very needy children. And they literally would have wanted to kill us, really. So it's a long story, and I couldn't let go of my mother. And what happened on the fateful night we were going home, I couldn't let her go. So this is the childhood trauma that sparks my life. They were going to have a babysitter, and the babysitter to me looked like the witch from Wizard of Oz. And I freaked out, and I couldn't let my mother go, which was probably the worst decision I ever made, but the worst decision she ever made, which was to not go. So I felt responsible for her losing her dream, which was going to a Hollywood nightclub. Because my brother was at a Hollywood nightclub. And what happened, he said, well, I'm going to kill Susan. That's just it. I'm coming to kill. And I really believed I was going to die, because he said he's coming to kill me. And I just was clinging to her for dear life. Long story short, he didn't kill me, but on the way home the next morning, he looked at me and he said, you're no good. You were just born bad. And so that was my sense of myself. So it's been a long journey to get out of that. And here I am, and I don't believe him. And I didn't, even at the time I didn't, but it cost me a lot. So through that whole year, even going back to Chicago, I couldn't really leave the house. I wouldn't have been able to go into the world. And yet I knew that I wanted to, but I didn't know how. It took months for me to get up the courage to go back into the world. And the last time I said, you're going to do it. You're going to do it. And I never turned back. That was the greatest act of courage I've ever had, was going back to school. But from there, David just reminded me, I excelled at everything. I was very talented artist, and I got a scholarship to the Art in Chicago as a fine artist and a painter. I was considered an artist at school, and I was an A student. But those are demons that I had, that I was not a good person. So it was more like, you're great in the outside world, but my mother would say, if we only told people what you were really like. But within that, in the outside world, I started getting more confident, and I would sing and not act in Chicago, but I had the courage in some way to get up. That's the main point. And this is what I wanted to talk about that might help people. Trust your desires. My desire to sing and dance, and I didn't yet know about acting at 7 or 8, but I knew about I had to dance and sing. And then at a certain point, I saw a movie star, and it changed my life completely. And I knew what he had, I had. I knew it. And at that point, so I'm like 11, 12, I had a vision, and I saw the gates of Hollywood. I saw the studio gates, and I thought, oh, that's where I'm going. I just knew that I had to get to Hollywood. That literally is what happened. I managed to, again, like my mother did when I was 7, get to Hollywood. Somehow they came up with train fare. I mean, it was a campaign. I had to work on them for about a year, but they had nothing there anyway. My father didn't have a job, so why not? And so we got to Hollywood, and it was exactly like I knew it would be. So in Chicago, I'd never acted or anything. I just had this passion to do it. I wanted it as much as you want to live. And the desire was so great. And the belief. Where the belief comes from, I have no idea. I just knew I was going to do it. And I did not have a plan B. I think it's because of the desire was so deep that the belief came out of that. And that's what I want to give to everybody. I think trust your desires. If they're in your heart and you're passionate, they can't be wrong. And that was the case. And one of the reasons I had to get out of Chicago, in my mind, I was going with a 23-year-old guy, and I was 13. It was very rough. And I thought, I'll die here. I mean, this is not what I'm meant to be or who I'm meant to be. And I got to Hollywood, and it was like, literally like in the movies, everything opened up. Everything. I first got into junior high school, and the first monologue I ever did, I was starting at the bottom. I figured out what a monologue was, and I happened to find a good one. And I did it in my junior high school. And from the very first moment I stepped on stage, the teacher was like, oh my God. And I was shocked. I didn't know that it was anything good or special. I just knew, let me get on the stage. And so that's what happened there. And all my little friends in junior high were in show business. And I said, well, how do you do a monologue? What do you do? You do it for me. And so I had to read one of my friends, Sherry, Juliet, because I thought, well, do you do it like a person, or do you do it like actors do it? And she said, well, I'll read it for you. And she read it like an actress reads it. They have the way. I thought, that can't be right. That's not a person. I don't care if it's Shakespeare. So anyway, I kept thinking, because I started with no background, I always thought, you just got to tell the truth. You got to speak like a person. So anyway, that seemed to get me far. And luck of luck, we had gotten an apartment. My father had gotten us an apartment that was within a half a block in the zone of the public school of Hollywood High. If it had been a half a block different, I mean, I was praying. See, God is a part for me. I mean, praying
Yes.
and praying and praying. Oh, dear God, if I could get into Hollywood High. Oh, dear God. And I got into Hollywood High, and all hell broke loose. But anyway, I wound up getting cast in everything. And I wound up eventually going into, they had competitions. So out of this, I started working as an actress in Hollywood. But I want to tell the story of how my style works into this, how this is a part of it. So growing up in Chicago, my outfits were a hand-me-down bag in the Chicago winter box of the ugliest gray clothes you could imagine. And my heart would sink every time every year one of them came in, because you think, well, maybe there's something in there that I could wear. But they were beyond ugly, beyond. And yet, in the summer, you didn't have to wear much. So somehow I got this peasant blouse. But the peasant blouse you could put off your shoulder. That made me feel great. And so I was a vamp. When I had a chance, and my grandmother was a seamstress and survived that way, I designed like French maid, sexy, red lips. And then I designed this whole gypsy outfit. And I was terrified of her. She was very fierce, but she would listen to me and create it. And so my love of beauty and fabric, and I just had that. I just knew what to do. But like somebody who knew me well said, you were brave because you'd go into the mouth of the lion dragon word. Like, she was fierce with her sewing machine, and I was terrified of saying the wrong thing, but somehow I got what I wanted. I got those outfits. But I was definitely a vamp, and I knew that was me. I just was interested in boys. I was interested in kissing, and I was such a good girl. But I thought, oh, you better get out of Chicago, or you're going to wind up in a brothel or something. But I was so pure, really very pure. Anyway, when I got to Hollywood, so this thing about like having the Halloween costumes and wearing these horrible gray things that I couldn't bear, but in the summer coming out and being my provocative self, I was very criticized. And the cousins who were normal on the other side of town that we saw once or twice a year, like, it's not proper for a girl to wear her hair behind her ears. But anyway, when I got to California, a lucky thing happened. There was somebody that was trying to help my family who had money. And long story short, she must have had a daughter my size, because I would get hand-me-downs from her, and they were gorgeous, but they were the wrong color. But no matter, they were really nice clothes. And I knew at 15, like, there was a purple dress, and I thought, well, that's me. It was just perfect. I would wear it today, actually, but I'm 15. So I would go on auditions looking like that. And my first few months of competing, I wore a black dress, the turtleneck and long sleeves and heels this high. I'm 15, maybe going on 16. And after winning all of these things at school, I got nowhere. So this is something I want to share with everybody, how important what you wear is. So I was devastated. I thought, why? I know this is good. Why am I not winning? And my girlfriend, they're all my friends in Hollywood, were in the movies. So one of my friends, who was a working actress, out of the blue, just one day said to me, you know, Susan, I think you should dress like a teenager. And it was like, I remember feeling nauseous. The idea that I, with all my glamour, would dress like a teenager, it was just nauseating. But I realized I want to win. I want to really be successful. So I found in the hand-me-downs a plaid skirt and a simple blouse and a headband. And the next competition I went to, I wore that outfit instead of something glamorous. Right away. Won right away. I thought, okay, now I'm going to disguise myself as a teenager. I was a teenager, but I didn't. Look, from my background, I certainly never felt young or carefree, but I looked like one. And so I started getting work as an actress. And then major things happened. I won't go into all of it, but I started getting really important jobs and movie star things. And it was, for me, a lifeline, dream come true. And then as I got further, I could wear some of the things that I love. I got to New York because the famous director that I'd worked with in Hollywood remembered me from doing something, and he brought me to New York to audition for things. So, right away, I was considered somebody to really watch. So I came to New York and then starting over because I really came for an audition and to escape my sister. We were at this time being kicked out of one apartment after another. She was really deteriorating fast. And it was bad. So at the same time my star is rising, I am saddled with this family that was sick, just beyond ill. And I couldn't change it. I kept trying. Like, you see, this is a train wreck. If they keep going like this, and I would try to counsel and try to help. Finally, when this opportunity came to come to New York, I jumped at it. It came for 2 weeks, and here I am. I've never left. And I built my whole body of work here and in film and theater. And David and I, along the way, met. And we were just like one person. I mean, I think I'll start weeping.
Ah, that's so beautiful.
When David and I met, it was the most astonishing thing because we thought the same, we walked the same, and we saw the same. Literally, I would wear his glasses. For a while, we were just colleagues, and we'd be walking down the street, and we always walked in the same foot, same step. So we were like one soul. And this whole thing with this style journey developed with both of us because I come from this thing of wanting beauty. Beauty was life to me. Beauty was survival. And he was just the most talented person on the planet. I mean, he had been, most people know this now, a classical pianist, award-winning, and was a brilliant young actor, singer, dancer, director, choreographer, musical director, just the most talented human you could meet. And he was good. Yeah. So I didn't mean to talk about you. This was going to be about, I think you should. This is my time. But, but long story short, we developed this idea of how do you translate what you are into what you wear. But David it's the system of David Kibbe's metamorphosis and the new paradigm totally came while we were walking down the street. And David, one day, he was already working with clients. That's a whole other story and how that happened. He was helping people for auditions and all of that. He worked with a famous casting person as an intern. And he just thought people are losing jobs left and right because they don't know how to present themselves. He knew, but he thought that wasn't good enough. And I had my own little side thing when I wasn't acting. I'd do makeup for people and put them together. So we were always sort of circling this. And it was from both of our histories. We could see what had to be done. If only people would listen to us, they would succeed and they would be beautiful. But, how do you get people to listen? So David and I were walking down the street, and one day he just said, there's something missing, because he could see it with anybody. It started with my girlfriend in my living room on my dining room table. He put her together and she was glorious. And then another person, and then another. And then so it went from 1 to 20 to 50 to 100. But we were walking down the street and he said, it's missing. There has to be a system. And I thought, what is he talking about? A system of fashion? What do you mean? I really didn't know. And it was so clear to him. And I thought, just listen to what he's saying. And that was the beginning of a whole new paradigm that this whole world is about. He revolutionized everything. This was not supposed to be about you. But how could it not be? So this journey, along with my acting career and then along the way, I realized I wanted more autonomy in my life. So in regards to being just an actress, I started teaching. And again, that went like that from April to September. I started with 8 people. Then I had maybe 30 by September. And then I had a school at Carnegie Hall. I mean, it went very, very, very fast. And it lasted for decades. Both David and I were on 57th Street. I was at Carnegie Hall teaching and had my own school. And he was developing this thing called Metamorphosis. And both were thriving. Now, that's the happy part of it. The sad part is it was very difficult to create this. We never had backing. We never had any support. We just did it. And that's been David and I. We just do it. But the two of us together, I was David's guinea pig. Do you think that's safe to say, David?
Well, I think you were my teacher.
I was your teacher. You want to say
That's your identity, or?
Yeah, okay. So David's giving me credit, so I'm going to take it. In my school, what I did, I was very frustrated. I got to study with the legends as an actress. I got into the top classes, and yet I would get a stomach ache. I just thought, what's missing about this? It just was such a letdown. And it wasn't personal. And I thought, well, this is interesting. You're teaching people about humanity and these characters, but you're not teaching these actors about who they are. What is missing in this picture? And so when I started teaching, I knew it was going to be body, mind, heart, soul. I'd never heard in all my years of being an actress the word art. I was frightened to tell them it has to come from your heart. And there is some force that's beyond you that has to be incorporated. There's a big picture we all are part of. Your humanity, your divinity, your physicality, your soul has to be there before you can become an artist. And so that's what I was teaching, all about identity. So I had 3 things in my school that were the first was the identity work. Who am I? Body, mind, heart, soul. And then I developed a technique that was my own that involved how you translate your identity. What's the bridge to a character without being intellectual? I was so fed up with script analysis, but yet you have to know how to analyze the script. But if it's outside of you, it doesn't mean anything. It's all about your humanity and your divinity and your feelings and your fears and your joy and your sorrow. And I was passionate about that. So out of all of that is David and I, the beauty thing is of the beauty of each individual. So it was always about beauty. So then the third phase was then how do you bring this authentic identity and then this organic technique that I developed into the marketplace and actually proclaim your rarity and get successful. And out of that, so our path in developing what is now David Kibbe's Power of Style is a joint journey, and the book is a joint journey. Along the way, I was David's guinea pig, but he gave me back when I had as a little girl, which was I was always a vamp. There's nothing else I could feel comfortable being. And it was an innocent vamp. Being an actress and having to imitate a teenager, I got successful doing that. So I also learned what the parameters were that you have to, like when you're working in corporate America, there is something that you have to understand about how to transport yourself. But as I got more and more successful, I thought, that's that. I'm gonna be me. And anybody who doesn't like I was just about to sign with a very important agent, and she really liked me and got me. She said, "But Susan, the way you dress, just so afraid that you're going to alienate casting directors. Why don't you just dress like everybody else? Wear jeans and a blouse." And I thought, you're really a very nice person, but your vision is this big because I know where we're going. And I didn't sign with her. And so at a certain point, my identity was as important as playing a character because I think they're one and the same. But it's been quite a journey to integrate the inner and the outer. And that's what my life is about. It's not just style, but it is authenticity, going into the world with full body, full heart, full soul. And why it's so important to me and why I love meeting you, Jess, is love. It doesn't matter to me unless there's love in it. And now at this point, we're very fortunate. Like, we have an agent who's just an angel, who's pure love. And a lot of the professionals that have come into our life, they're love-based. And that's what I want to help people and help myself remember. It's all about love. That's all there is. And the world is telling us, unless we pull together in love, we may not survive.
Yes.
I
Yes.
pray we will, but I know that we, the light bearers, the little humans that we are, with this divine legacy, we are the ones that are going to save this planet. And we have to take ownership of the power that is within us and the beauty that is within us and the goodness that is within us and the heart, that we all share.
I
We're
agree.
really all one. And that's what I felt when I met you, Jess. I felt like you're a heart person. I recognize, we recognize each other.
Yes, like calls to like.
Yeah.
Like absolutely calls to like. And
so I
I love
just
what you say about that, Susan, because you're so right. We each are created so divinely beautiful in the people that we are.
Yeah.
And we all have experiences and a life that has led us to the point that we're at.
Yeah.
And that's a beautiful story. And it's a part of who we are. And communicating that authentically, it revolves around us accepting and loving all of those parts of ourselves and communicating it authentically, which is something that I love so much about your and David's work is it is that love-based beauty
Yeah. Yeah.
and finding that authenticity in yourself and communicating that outwardly, not only in style, but in your day-to-day situations,
Yeah.
in the acting world as you have. It has applications in so many different areas of our life, but it can also be such a beautiful way for you to focus your personal style to communicate who you are to the world around you.
Absolutely.
Because like you said, you've known who you are since you were very young.
Yeah.
I've known who I was since I was very young. And I think throughout,
most of us
yes,
do.
we do.
You just have to uncover it.
We have to uncover it. Yes. And we may be discouraged from it throughout our lives, like
Yeah.
I know you were in casting. When I first joined the corporate world, or even when I was younger, I was discouraged sometimes by my parents for the things that I would wear. But over time, when you release that negativity that you've experienced and you fully embrace who you are and express it, that light shines out to everybody else and makes everybody else want to do the same. And it's just such a beautiful gift to give to the world.
Everything you just said, I'm in harmony with, Jess. And so this is the celebration to get this opportunity to be with you. Anything you want to ask me, and I'm going to have a little sip of water.
Of course, of course. So one of my favorite things in the first time that I got to meet you, the one time I got to meet you, was the outfit that you're wearing because I will never forget it because you had this beautiful teal and blue color story happening. You had this beautiful big hat and you had shoes that incorporated every color that you had in your outfit. And I remember you told me that you had designed it. And to me, your outfit, the first time I saw you, told a beautiful story of who you were and who you are. And so how do you look at style as a form of storytelling?
It's organic. It's like what you love. I mean, for me, like, by the way, I have to tell you, it was a royal blue. It wasn't teal because it was a cool color. But it had turquoise buttons all around. But the shoes, and that was just serendipity. I found the most gorgeous royal blue suede shoes and turquoise stripe. So that was just, these things find you when you're coming from a vision. And so I was very fortunate to have all the pieces of it make a statement that I loved, But thank you for saying that. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Yeah. So what was your question? I don't want to lose your question.
So how do you feel people can best tell a story through their clothing?
Oh, just listen to yourself. But you got to this is David's whole thing. You have to have tools. You can't just say, well, I have so much feeling. I did that when I was 16 and I didn't get anywhere because I didn't have yet the techniques or bringing in the world, where you are in the world. You have to know a lot to go into the world as yourself. You have to know who you are and you have to know what you look like. That's not an easy task. But when you get there, you uncover what you always knew about yourself. We're all beautiful, but we also are carrying other people's judgments, other people's lack of vision. And now we're carrying the internet, which is,
Yes. Whew.
it's a world that who could have imagined there'd be a place like the internet where everybody is a critic, every single person, and everybody says they're an expert without having any skills or any training. So
A lot of armchair experts.
yeah. So anyway, because I came up through having to learn things, and I had to learn where I was really wrong. And like when I went in there as a glamour puss at 16, I was wrong. You can't pull that off. There's no place for it. You have to know the place you're in.
Right, the situation.
And what you want. I didn't want to be this oddity getting attention because I was so glamorous. I wanted to be successful. So if I have to modify or just subtly change it to get ahead in a field that meant something to me, then you do it without losing yourself. And I did get back, and how I got back to myself was all this work that Dave and I do. And what a joy. I mean, this is the thing that I share with you. Like never in all of my childhood in Chicago, was there ever a time when somebody said, well, Susan, there's this holiday coming up. Would you like a new dress? Or nobody ever said, or you're going to school, do you need a nice dress? So it was always a campaign I had to do for about a year to get a dress. And I couldn't always bring it off. I mean, I would beg and plead, I'm going to graduate. That took about a year of begging. And my dad did come through. I needed a little thing. I think it was $50 at the time, which seemed like thousands. And he eventually got it to me so I could graduate. So a dress really has meaning for me, more than maybe most people. But because if you're on your path, now I have dresses beyond dresses beyond dresses. They just come to me because I'm doing what I'm meant to be doing out of who I am. And so then your life comes, all your desires get fulfilled without you even trying. Did I think when I was 13, I'm going to wind up doing this part of style, become known as style person? Good God, no. But it was in me as a desire. And I believe that our desires and mine has always been for beauty. And for me, a way to get into the world. Style is your transportation. We buy cars and all of that, but how we transport ourselves with every human we meet is your style. So it's pretty important to figure this out, what feels like you, but you have to learn stuff. You have to learn stuff. You really can't just say, well, this is what I like. I don't think. I think you have to learn then what you look like. That's hard for any of us. And you have to change your idea of what's wrong with yourself. I mean, I had so many demons in my head about all the flaws. And you just eventually have to make peace. They're all part of the whole beauty that's there. There's nothing wrong. And David was the first person I ever heard say that There are no flaws. What? I have so many. But he was the first human. What do you mean there are no flaws? Only unique characteristics. Well, that's a new thought. I would like. There was a certain point way into this journey that we're on. David said to me one day, he said, "Susan, I think you're still trying to hide your hips." Because I used to back out of interviews because I thought there was much too much going on back there. And little did I know that would become a thing where people are trying to get more. I would have given anything to slice it all off. But now it's a trend, a style. You want to have a lot. So I came into fashion. But my natural attributes happen to be this is a time when they're okay. They weren't when I started at all.
And I love that you say that, because David's work was also the first time in my life as well that I had seen somebody say there are no flaws.
Yeah.
Everybody is built beautifully. Everybody is
Yeah.
built different, but it's a part of who you are.
Yeah.
You're beautiful exactly as you are.
Yeah.
And I remember specifically, I experienced that, and I was exposed to David's work right after I had had my first child. And I came from a very long history of body dysmorphia and just not liking the way that I looked. I developed very young. I was the height I am now with the body that I have now in like 6th or 7th grade.
Wow.
And so, I had a large chest and I had hips before anybody else did.
Wow.
And I was always made to feel ashamed for that. And it wasn't until after I had my first child and I got to know and understand my body better that I learned to love my body as it is.
What body you have?
And there's, thank you,
No, it's
Susan.
gorgeous.
Thank
No,
you.
there's so much.
But so is
Well, there's so much. You're a voluptuous person. So, of course, you have a voluptuous body. And you're also, I find you powerful in your purity. I told you that. I feel you're so pure that's your power. And so you have this voluptuous frame, but you have this vertical line. You're this really imposing figure. So that's fascinating to have those. But the main thing we see, first thing I saw, you're tall. Oh my, she's tall. I'm not. But we have to know those things.
Right. Knowing those things, it really does lead you to that self-love. It does, because once you understand it and you accept it as it is, you learn to love yourself. And through that, you can communicate yourself more authentically without any of the hang-ups
Yeah.
that exist around bodies.
Yeah.
And it's one of my favorite things that you guys have brought into the world is that self-love, because there's not enough of it in the world.
Oh,
Like you
God.
said, the internet has brought so much to us. And a lot of it is an algorithm that shows us what we're supposed to look like all the time.
Yeah.
And nobody can ever live up to that. No one can
And
ever
now
live
the
up to it.
filters and oh my God, it's alarming. And yet we discovered you. And we've so many of the dear people in our life now, we've met through that. So it's such a force for good or bad. And it's what we do with it. It's light and dark. The earth is light and dark. And we're the ones, if it's going to get light, it's up to us. And whatever our talent is, whatever, to bring it to the world, bring our light, bring our heart, bring our passion, bring our humanity to this world and light it up and join together with others of like mind and like heart and like soul. And so this is something very special.
Yes, it is. And you're right. We have an obligation to share our light with the world and bring more light into a world that is too often overcome with darkness. One thing I would love for you to share with us. So many people are so confused by all of the external noise in their life and by everything that they're constantly bombarded with on the internet and just in general, that it can be really hard for people to really listen inside, to focus in on listening to that still small voice inside, to really be able to know who they are and communicate that. So what advice would you give to people who aren't sure who they are and need to do that exploration?
I'm glad that's a question for all of us. I've had many spiritual teachers. One of the spiritual teachers that I've been exposed to reiterates about we're human beings, not human doers. Human beings. Being has to come first. And then, if you're being, you're going to start feeling for yourself. You're going to start feeling what you feel, but you have to be first. But there is no substitute, I think, for what you have to do to get still. As an acting teacher, that's one of the main things. But as a human, we have to find a way to get still. And it can be very simple. Start where you are. The breath. Just breathe. You don't have to do anything. Just stop for a moment. And meditation, they usually say 15, 20 minutes. Start with a minute. Just start where you are. And anybody can breathe because that's why we're alive. So anybody can do it, no matter how action-oriented you are. You're alive, so you're breathing. Just take another moment. Gently breathe and let it go. And that is meditation. Or look at a flower. I mean, I'm telling you everything I never did. I went through my whole childhood breathing twice. I never breathed, but I had to learn how to breathe and stop. And it's something you don't learn and have. You have to reinvest in it every day of your life because it's easy to forget with the noise. So it has to be something you want to be. You want to be. You want to be. You want to be a being because you are anyway. Does that answer your question?
Yes, it does.
Stop.
Because I agree with you 100%. I think we've lost the art of just being
Being.
in our day and age. There aren't many opportunities in most people's schedule to have that moment of quiet and stillness.
Yeah.
And many people do that through meditation. Some people do it through prayer. Some people do it through disconnecting by going out in nature. There's so many different
I was
ways that
just
you
gonna
can
say,
spend time
that
with
is all
yourself.
being. You like whether you're looking at a flower, which I, because I had to apply such energy to getting out into the world, I didn't have time to smell a flower. I mean, really, but I've learned that if you don't, there's nothing else, So just to look, listen, but mainly start where you are. Don't judge it. Just start where you are.
Right.
Just breathe and don't put pressure on yourself. We're all going to be fine. You don't have to, there's no bar you have to reach. Oh, I've got to now meditate 20 minutes a day. No. I mean, it's nice if you can. I love to meditate. So I'd like to meditate more because I enjoy it. Because I'm an introvert. So that's very natural for me.
Yes.
I love walking in the park. What do you love? What brings you that exhale? That's a meditation. Just start with where you can exhale.
Yes, that's beautiful what you said. What brings you that exhale? What are the things in your life that allow you to just breathe out, decompress,
Yeah.
be able to be still, be at peace,
Yeah.
be connected with yourself? And that's the foundation of where people should start their search.
Yeah. And you don't have to start long. Just start small.
Just start somewhere. Yeah,
Yeah. Wherever
exactly.
you are, start.
Exactly.
Yeah.
There's no perfect way or perfect time to start.
No. Because we're all
Right.
so unique. Yeah.
Absolutely. So we talked about forms of storytelling through clothing. We talked about how people can get to know themselves through being still, just being, and taking that time to learn themselves and be able to translate that into who they are in their communication with other people. What other things, is there anything specific that you haven't shared that you want to make sure people hear or make sure that people know?
Let me think about that. Well, what the thought that came up is the truth. We all have our own truth. And to value that and to value our values. the bar is going lower and lower and lower as to what constitutes the human being. A friend of mine at Hollywood High, who's still a friend today, wonderful human, said to me, Slavin, remember your values. And I had no idea what he was talking about because I thought a value was how much is hamburger. That's a good value if it's, under $1 or whatever it was. But what are your values? What do you value? I value love. That's a value that's important to me. I value beauty. I value kindness. I value passion. I value goodness. That's why I related to you. You're such a good human. What are your values? And to try to honor them. Because the values of the world are always going to be both. They're good values and horrific values. Know what your truth is and what your values are. And live by them. Try. We fail. All of us fail. And we're all works in progress. And certainly I am. But know what makes your heart sing. Know what makes your heart sing.
Susan, I love that. And I agree with you 100%, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you have a foundation set in your values and you live by them, even if imperfectly, because like you said, we all are imperfect. When you have that foundation of your values and you take the time to be still within yourself
Yeah.
and live in those,
Yeah.
and then practice living in those day to day, you learn yourself through that as well, right?
Of course.
And
we're all discovering ourselves every moment of every day. I'm discovering myself as I'm doing that. Be human, just be who you are, and know you were designed perfectly. Just trust that. Trust who you are. Life will take care of you. Life really will take care of you if you get out of the way. Life takes care of us. We don't have to do it all. I was somebody who thought I was told early on that I was responsible for the very ground I walked on. And that was the story of my life. And I believed that. So it was a little more energy and worry than you need if you think you're responsible for. So as I'm evolving, I'm learning. Yeah, a lot is being taken care of if I just breathe. It'll come. It'll come. I don't have to do everything myself. And nobody does. Nobody does.
no, nobody does.
We're all
And
being helped.
yes. And we're also imperfectly perfect, right?
Exactly.
We all come from varied backgrounds. There are certainly things everybody would change about the way they grew up or that they would want to change about themselves, but none of those things matter, right? We are who we are right here, right now. And that's something that's beautiful and should be honored.
Yes, and this moment is a beautiful moment for me, Jess, because of you. Because if there were somebody else on the other side, I would still be trying to express what I believe and who I am. But it's very different because it's you, because there's a kindred feeling that makes me feel safe. So just by being who you are, you make me feel safe. Isn't that wonderful? You don't even know you're doing. You don't even know you're doing that.
I didn't, but I'm so grateful that we were able to take the time to talk to one another. And I feel the same kindred spirit with you,
Yeah.
Susan. I think I immediately the moment we met felt that kindred spirit connection. And I think it's just that understanding of people who have the same passion and desire to bring that light into the world and to
Yes.
help others find their light as well.
Yeah.
Because we all have a light. And some of ours may be dimmer at times than others because we may be in different spaces in our life, but we all have the opportunity to make that light shine.
Yeah. And we all have the opportunity to remind each other. We all know on some level of our divinity and our humanity, but we forget because it is a noisy world and it is dark and light. So we're here to remind each other.
Yes. And hopefully to remind everybody who listens to this that
Yes.
we all have
Yes.
that beautiful light inside,
Yes.
and to be still with it and listen to it and learn it and then express it in its authenticity, because it's yours uniquely and it's so beautiful.
So
Okay.
I thank you. If there's anything else you want to ask, but I think I'm complete for today.
That was all that I had to ask from you, Susan. I just wanted to say thank you so much for taking the time to talk with me. I appreciate it so much. You and David are both just such wonderful humans. And I'm so grateful that I got the opportunity to meet you, because I do feel that you guys reminded me of my own light and helped reignite mine. And
Wow.
so now I want to take that forward and help remind other people of their light too.
Oh, isn't that wonderful? Thank you for saying that just the way we are and what we believe has had an effect on you. That's
Yes.
amazing. And I love you.
Oh, I love you too. Thank you so much, Susan. I appreciate you so much.
And
All right.
we will meet again. That's all I have to say.
Yes, we will.
Okay.